If a deranged man followed you and your friends into the woods, drugged you, then strapped time bombs onto you which will explode unless you kill your friends, what would you do? Revenge tales are as old as time. Exes, horrible bosses, boogeymen, we've all done our own internal fantasizing about how we would get back at those who've wronged us. But what happens when someone we've wronged wants revenge against us? To survive, we're either going to need to cooperate to cut these bomb vests off, or start bushwhacking all of our friends before our 30 minutes or less is up and we go out like a giant firecracker. I'm going to break down the mistakes made by our unwilling players, try to make better decisions, and ultimately attempt to beat the time bomb in Triggered. Mr. Peterson's twisted revenge plot begins with the guy bound, gagged, and bagged, screaming for his life as he strains against the barbed wire handcuffs on his wrists. Assassin's Creed cosplayer Mr. Peterson removes the bag, unloads a gun, and warns the guy what's about to happen to him is all his fault. He triggers a remote-activated, computerized vest on the bound man's chest, then stabs him in the gut for good measure and leaves him to die. The vest on our doomed screamer reads, "Searching for players." We cut to 9 Chads and basic girls cooking s'mores and choking on bug spray around a campfire. They rip on Bobby for organizing their reunion in the woods, but he says their football town is crowded for the game and this was the best, cheapest option for their meetup. This meetup seems like a dumpster fire from the beginning. These 9 so-called friends like each other about as much as anyone you're forced to hang around for 4 years. Most of them are also total pricks. Ezra's cheating on his girlfriend, Kato is a former drug dealer now moonlighting as Patrick Bateman, Shae's obsessed with Bobby, and while Cece is off taking what I can only assume are antipsychotic meds that have stopped working, we learn from her friends that back in high school, she got Mr. Peterson arrested and placed on the sex offender registry because he gave her detention. We also learn that Aaron's boyfriend Caleb, the 10th member of this friend group, died 5 years ago at one of Ezra's parties. The only 3 in the group that seem to be decent at all are Ryan, the know-it-all everyone seems to hate, Aaron, the wallflower everyone also seems to hate, and Ryan's boyfriend PJ, a nice guy drummer who everyone also seems to hate. This high school reunion is like a ticking time bomb and somebody's about to trigger it. In the dead of the night, Aaron hears a noise nearby in the woods and goes to check it out. A tale as old as time itself. She shines her flashlight across the forest and spots a dark figure lurking. She runs for the cover of a fallen tree, but he's suddenly standing over her, holding a gun to her head and shining a bright light in her eyes. Using her name, he tells Aaron to roll over and asks if anyone else has seen him. He tells her to close her eyes and apologizes for what he's about to do, then hits her across the face with his revolver, knocking her out cold. Gotta point out the obvious things first. Aaron should have stayed within sight of her camp while doing her business. Wandering into an unfamiliar part of the woods in the middle of the night is a good way to get separated from the group if your flashlight breaks or, you know, your high school science teacher creeps up behind you with a 6-shooter. If you do leave the side of the camp, make sure you're within shouting range just in case you see a person leering at you in the woods. The moment Aaron sees this guy, Aaron should be screaming her head off. She didn't wander miles into the woods. Her friends are only a few hundred feet away at most, and they would come running. Research into sound dampening in forests has shown that sound is audible through wooded areas up to 1,300 feet or 400 meters away. The average human voice can reach 100 decibels, about the same loudness as a Bell J-2A helicopter hovering at 100 feet, so they'll definitely hear her. Sure, he had a revolver pointed at her dome, but again, no second locations. If he's sneaking up on you in the middle of the forest with a pistol, it's safe to say you're going to die either way. By screaming while you swallow a bullet, at least your friends you hate have a chance at surviving. Aaron regains consciousness with a gnarly gash on her head and something strapped to her chest. She wakes Ryan, who tells Aaron they've been gassed. Soon, everyone's awake. Shae realizes Bobby is missing, and out of the darkness, Mr. Peterson reveals himself to the group. Ryan tries to pull off PJ's vest, but Mr. Peterson tells them not to bother. It's made with industrial-grade cable. Peterson gives his villain spiel about their entitlement and the fact that their lives have been just peachy since they've ruined his. He activates their explosive vests. Each one lights up with the searching for players screen. He tells them that because of their cruelty, his family was destroyed, so tonight, only one person of the 9 campers will get to leave the forest alive. He then removes himself from the equation and triggers the game of death for our 9 players. Before the free-for-all begins, I should point out that this whole gassing thing thing is probably bogus. Halothane gas was once used as a general anesthetic, but has been banned in the US for its deadly side effects. In fact, it's no longer commercially available in the States at all. That's not the bogus part though. The bogus part is that halothane is administered by the non-rebreathing technique, partial rebreathing, or closed technique, requiring a mask placed over the person's nose and mouth and kept there throughout the time that they're unconscious. Once the gas is removed, the person wakes up. Erin was knocked out with blunt force, but when she finds Ryan doesn't have a mask on, but whoever is in this tent does. Inconsistent and also strange considering that means whoever gassed them had to somehow subdue 7 other people without anyone realizing and then put masks on them and turn on the halothane gas. You might be saying, nerd, someone laced their drinks, to which I would say, then why would they need the gas? As for Mr. Peterson and his snub-nosed revolver, in the panic and adrenaline after waking up, it probably doesn't occur to them to use his speech to their advantage. With presence of mind, they could have someone like Ezra or Cato walk up behind him and hit him over the head with a tree branch or other tool lying around their campsite before he has a chance to turn on their vests. Once he's dead, they should search his body immediately, stripping it if they have to make sure he doesn't have a single thing on him that they can use. As we'll find out later, there is something on him, a trap, so perhaps it's better that they don't find it now. Still, in a situation like this, the goal is simple. If you can't deactivate the vests, find a way to get them off. He tells them not to bother because the vests are fortified with industrial grade cable, which means the conductor wires inside have improved flexibility. There is a foil and braid shield wrapped around those wires, and the jacket around all of it is designed to withstand exposure to oil, chemicals, rough handling, abrasion, UV radiation, and temperature variations. It sounds intense, but it really just means that you have to work a little harder to break or cut it. Industrial grade jackets on these cables are susceptible to extreme temperatures, and the wires inside are vulnerable to the extreme flexing. We've all bent a Q-tip back and forth until it broke in half. The same concept applies here. If I were in their shoes, I would have someone I trust look closely under the arm sections of the vest to see if it's the only cable, or if there's also electrical wiring there, just in case cutting the wire triggers the bomb. We'll want to avoid damaging those, but for the cable, I would have someone I trust light a stick on fire until the end is red hot, then repeatedly press it to the industrial jacket until it burns away. Then it should just be a matter of using the crowbar to flex the braided metal and wire bundle until the cable snaps, at which point it should be possible to open the vest wide enough to pull it over our heads and step out. We also see that the vest was screwed onto their bodies. They should find a knife, like the knives we see them find later, or search Mr. Peterson's body for a screwdriver he must have used to fit the vests on, and then remove the screws on the vest to break them apart. If that doesn't work, it's time to start testing the vest to see how it's reading their body vitals. Ryan should feel under PJ's vest for any electrodes which would need to be in contact with the skin. It might be possible to disrupt the sensors, triggering the computer to assume you're dead and shut down. At this point, they don't know whether or not removing the vest or sensors will trigger the bomb, but I think it's worth trying anyways. Ryan strips Mr. Peterson's backpack off and finds their broken phones inside. Suddenly, their vests light up and each person's screen displays a countdown clock. They all have different amounts of time. PJ notices that Shae's vest is blue. She has the most time of them all. Ryan finds the remote that activated all their vests and spams every button, with no success in turning them off. Cece panics to PJ to get her vests off, but he jokes that he could if he removed her arms and head. Shae calls out for Bobby again, but Ryan tells her he's not there because he must have worked with Mr. Peterson to do this to them. Peterson needed help to move their cars, steal their phones, gas them, and put on their vests. Amber reminds everyone Bobby also arranged the campsite for them. Ryan tells everyone that Peterson must have had a car out there. They just need to find it. As everyone else wanders off into the woods to search for it, Ezra stays behind and takes Mr. Peterson's gun, which is empty. He hears muffled groaning and finds Bobby bound, tied up, and gagged with a vest on. The group assembles around Bobby, who looks badly beaten and is chained to a tree by his ankle. His vest is also beeping and glowing red. Shae wants to free him, but Ryan reminds her that he helped Peterson. Bobby tells them he was blackmailed. He reveals he's bisexual, and Peterson took racy photos of him weeks before and threatened to release them unless he helped. When Ryan demands answers, Bobby realizes Peterson had killed himself without telling them the quote-unquote rules of the vests. When they break his ankle chain to free him, he lunges for Cato with a knife in an attempt to steal his time, but Cato's just out of reach. Bobby's timer hits 0 and his vest explodes. That's one camper down with 8 remaining. Bobby is a dirtbag for dragging his HR problems into everyone else's business. Regardless, there's no reason to release him until after he's told us the rules of the bombs Peterson put on everyone, especially since Peterson told us only one of us is making it out alive tonight. Bobby's also terrible at keeping himself alive. Why lunge for Kato when Shae's standing right there with the most time of anyone remaining? Shae will literally come to you. He can make up an excuse afterward about her being involved, or even just run like hell into the forest. Or he could kill Ezra when he's breaking his chain. Bobby wastes his only chance to save himself whining about how they're not friends anymore. After Bobby's dead, the group needs to stay together. They should at least look over the pieces of the vest they can find and see if there's something among the wreckage that can help them take their own vests off. Everyone runs for the hills and split up through the forest. Soon, Ezra and Cece are alone, which is obviously the perfect time for Cece to confront Ezra about his cheating. Rationally, he wants to focus on their vests. He says she has 30 minutes, he has 40, and they need to spend it getting the vests off. Cece helpfully adds that she wishes she had more time so she could watch him die before storming off in the opposite direction. Amber and Kato assess the situation. Kato says only the person with the most time alive gets to live, but that's Shae. Amber says the random times don't seem fair. PJ's vest turns red, indicating he has the least amount of time remaining. Ezra paws around in Bobby's viscera until he finds a crowbar, which he unsuccessfully attempts to pry his vest off with. PJ and Ryan find each other. His timer's down to 3 minutes and 18 seconds. He begs Ryan to figure something out, since she's the smartest of the group. Just then, a voice calls out behind him, and he instinctively swings his flashlight. It connects with Shae's head, slicing something open, causing her to bleed to death in seconds. Shae's vest powers down, and PJ's vest suddenly turns blue. His screen lights up with new top score. The group finally reunites, and PJ admits he accidentally killed Shae. Aaron realizes PJ now has the most time because he earned Shae's time on top of his own. And nearby, Cece's vest is blinking red. She now has the lowest time remaining, and overhears them talking about Peterson's convoluted plan for revenge. We learn that they were all together the night Caleb, Peterson's son, overdosed on drugs. Ryan argues the joke's on Peterson. No one in the group is capable of murder. Ironically, they instantly all turn against each other. In a Hail Mary attempt to add points to her vest, Cece suddenly Leroy Jenkins into the group with a makeshift spear, scattering them all into the forest again. With Shae's demise, that's 2 friends down, 7 to go. A group splitting up to find solutions is one thing. A group splitting up to yammer about side pieces and the fairness of the universe is another. Ezra has the right idea, going back for the crowbar, but he needs to use a tree to create a fulcrum that allows him to exert enough pressure on the vest to break the cable, probably at the joints or in the straps where the cable is likely to be the weakest. Even better if he had someone who could help him here. Another reason not to split up. Killing Shae is a shame, for anyone not standing next to her, that is. At least they learn a valuable rule about the game, which they immediately squander by telling the others. Yes, PJ and Ryan are the moral center of this group, but they should take a moment here to consider the consequences of telling the rest of the group about Shae's death. Not because PJ killed her, but because this single decision to share turns this into the Hunger Games real quick. Sure, they would likely figure it out themselves anyways, but Ryan knows these people don't like her, and they don't like her boyfriend. They've yelled it at them repeatedly already. They both have solid amounts of time on their side, and they should be using it to strategize before returning to the group. As for Cece dive bombing into the group like this, she orchestrated her own failure. If you're about to murk your friends, do it quietly. Amber and Kato make it back to camp and realize someone's already taken Mr. Peterson's gun. Kato picks up an axe as a fallback weapon. Elsewhere, Ezra catches up to Aaron in the forest and strikes a deal with her to team up. She doesn't trust him, accusing him of keeping her around as an easy way to grab some extra minutes for himself, but he reminds her he has more time than she does. She finally agrees to team up, and they decide to search for a nearby camp or ranger station where there might be a car. Ryan tells PJ that her dad made her bring a second phone. At camp, they tear through their tent looking for it. PJ only finds a pocket knife just before a voice cries out. It's Cece in her beeping red vest again. PJ tells Ryan they should try to help her, but Ryan says they can't risk it. They hunker down in the tent and cover their vest light with a coat. Cece finds a large knife and nearly catches them, but hears voices in the distance and takes off after them. They look around a little bit more, and PJ finds the second phone, grabs the tent hammer, and they run off into the forest again. Once again, splitting up basically splits resources and makes everyone paranoid. Reaching outside help is a long shot, since we know this campsite is 30 miles to the closest store. And why is Ryan only now realizing she had this second phone with her? There is one strategy that no one thinks about here that can make all this battle royale drama disappear, and that's water. Radio signals die quickly in water, since the vests seem to be relying on radio signals to communicate with each other whenever timers change, they should be looking for a body of water in which they could submerge the vests. Submerging a vest could cause it to lose signal with the others and shut off. Depending on what explosive and what wiring is used in the vest, it could also neutralize the explosive and short circuit the wiring. Again, it might kill you, but so will your desperate friends and your own bomb vest if the time runs out. As for hiding from Cece, it goes without saying that PJ should not be opening anything that makes noise right now. Just wait until she's gone. I would also suggest a technique all of these people should be using after splitting up, and that's using mud and dirt to paint over the lights on their vests. If it's good enough for Dutch, it's good enough for you. While it wouldn't completely work on the central screen, it should prevent the glow from revealing your position to any murderous stalkers. Nearby, Cece stalks Kato and Amber. She stabs Kato in the leg and goes to kill him, but Kato throws shade at Amber. He tells Cece her best friend was sleeping with her boyfriend. Amber tosses out a Hail Mary play by claiming she's pregnant, but it only enrages Cece more, and Cece slices into Amber's belly as Kato limps away. Like something out of Shakespeare, Amber pulls the blade from her stomach and slices Cece's throat open. Amber earns 9 minutes 29 seconds extra, giving her roughly 43 minutes remaining. When Kato leaps out of hiding to kill Cece, he finds Amber still alive. She tells him she's ready to play the game for real and kill everyone else to buy them more time to figure out a solution. Kato just loves the sound of that. With Cece out of the game, that's 3 time bombs down and 6 still ticking. Since I've already explained 5 different ways that they could have worked together to get the vests off by now, let's have some fun and play the killer for a little while. Cece's flair for dramatic yelling should have gotten her killed already. At least she gets a stab in this time. Her problem, like all the true killers in this group, is one of monologuing. Stop talking and kill them already. She should have pulled the knife out of Kato's leg and plunged it into his throat before he even had a chance to whisper poison in her ear. As for Amber, the moment you hear Kato turn on you, you should either strike while Cece's distracted or run for your life. Same thing for Kato. Pick up your axe and bring it down on the back of Cece's head while she's distracted with Amber. The point overall is that you don't need to know the truth. You can't handle it anyways. You just need to take out your assailants when they're injured or their back is turned. Once Amber is injured, she should use it to her advantage. She could kill Kato with Cece's knife when he gets too close to her, or they could strategize a way to use their injuries to lure others and kill them. Honestly, Kato should just end Amber's life right now. It's gonna come down to it anyways. Ryan and PJ find cell reception in the woods and try spam dialing Ryan's dad. He doesn't pick up. She tells PJ something's wrong. Her father always answers. She turns her Find My Friend app on, and it tells her he's only 400 yards away. While en route to her dad, Ryan and PJ encounter Kato, doing his best axe murderer impression. Ryan and PJ dodge him for a bit until PJ decides to play peacemaker. He dances around Kato's axe until it gets lodged in a tree. Kato tackles him, beats him bloody, then crushes one of his hands with a hammer before going for the axe. When he swings the killing blow, PJ slams the hammer into Kato's calf. Nearby, Amber sneaks up on Ryan and stabs her twice in the back. Ryan retaliates by slamming something heavy across Amber's face, breaking her nose and sending her careening down the hill. Ryan and PJ are wasting valuable time retrying the same number over and over. They need to dial 911 or an operator while they still have cell reception. As for Kato, there's a lot of Mother Teresa-ing going on from PJ that's going to get him killed. It's fine to play peacemaker. It's fine to not want to kill your friends. What's not fine is letting an injured axe-winging ape get the drop on you not once but twice. If Kato wants your help, tell him to drop the axe and kick it away. You'll know instantly whether he can be reasoned with or not. Once you know he's not going to listen, run if you don't want to kill. Even if you do want to kill him, force him to chase you, hide behind a tree, and stab him in the throat when he passes by. Nearby, Ezra and Aaron find Ryan's dad. Aaron unties the barbed wire around his wrists. Turns out he's a cop, and Peterson did this to them because Caleb didn't accidentally OD. Somebody was slipping drugs into his drink at Ezra's party. Caleb was poisoned with 5 times the limit of speed, triggering a heart condition. Because Peterson didn't know which of Caleb's 9 friends dosed him, they all had to pay. Ezra and Aaron try moving Ryan's dad, but the stab wound Peterson gave him at the start of all this is gushing blood. Aaron pulls out his phone and dials 911. Meanwhile, Ezra notices the bullets for Peterson's revolver laying nearby and begins loading it. The call to 911 doesn't last long enough. Aaron asks Ryan's dad for information. He says Peterson had 2 remotes, one to turn the vest bombs on and and one to turn them off. Suddenly, Ezra shoots him in the head, splattering Aaron in blood and alerting the rest of tonight's players to their location. Turns out this game actually had 10 players, but Ezra brought us back down to 9 like a champ. Not counting Ryan's dad, the tally still stands at 3 of our 9 original campers killed, 6 still standing. At least Aaron knew how to dial 911. Of course, as I told you in my video for The Visit, cell phones aren't easily traceable the way landlines are, so she needs to tell the operator which campground they're in, and that they need a bomb squad to the scene before their vests explode. While Ezra had chivalrous intentions here, neither of them can afford to kill Ryan's dad right now. He seems to have extensive information about Peterson, info they might have been able to use if he was alive to tell it. It also wastes one of the very few bullets they have left. It isn't worth it. Just use the crowbar to end his life, or better yet, pepper him with questions until he's gone. Amber's vest suddenly warns her she's dropped to second place with 32 minutes and 40 seconds. Aaron now has the most, with 33 minutes and 4 seconds. Ezra drops into the red with just 12 minutes and 19 seconds remaining. He gives Aaron the loaded gun, tells her to help herself for once, and heads off to find the person he thinks killed Caleb. Aaron finds Ryan and PJ and tells Ryan her dad has died, lying a little bit to keep Ryan from losing it completely. PJ and Ryan decide to hike back to the camp to look for the second device that will shut the vests off. Aaron runs off to help Ezra. Unfortunately, all this niceness is once again distracting people from the goal here, which is to get the vests off or disarm them all completely. Aaron isn't likely to be any help to Ezra, as she isn't willing to kill anyone. At best, she can act as a distraction, but at worst, she's going to catch the eye of someone else who might want to kill her. At this point, the 3 of them should search for the second device as a team, moving as a team to be able to fight off any incoming attacks. In another part of this endless forest, Ezra screams his head off for Cato until he finally shows up. One mention of Caleb sends Cato into an axe-swinging fury. Ezra dodges, then strikes back with a crowbar and pins Ezra to a log. With less than a minute of Ezra's time remaining, Cato spits blood in Ezra's face and then pretends to surrender before stabbing him in the side and slicing open his throat, gaining a pitiful extra 14 seconds of time. With Ezra's brutal beatdown, that means 4 players have been eliminated, with 5 remaining. Ezra's like a knight gallantly running off to fight a windmill, not thinking straight and not accomplishing anything. Confronting Cato may satisfy some idea of honor Ezra has in his mind, but his real goal here should be to remove Cato as a threat to the other players in this game. Monologue if you must, but strike hard, strike fast, break Cato's arm or leg or spine so we can't get the upper hand, and then interrogate him for answers if you have to. At the very least, prevent Cato from killing you long enough to run out the clock and blow both of you up. Aaron finds Amber crawling through the forest and tries to console her. Amber spins, slicing with her knife. She gets Aaron on her back, but she's too weak and Aaron kicks her away. Nearby, PJ hears her scream and tells Ryan to go back to camp alone and gives her his pocket knife. He says he has to go save Aaron. Back in the fight, Amber stabs Aaron in the back of her thigh. PJ arrives and grabs the gun. He tells Aaron to run for camp while he stays behind. Then Cato arrives. PJ tells him they have a way to get out of this, but Cato doesn't believe him. He knocks the gun out of PJ's hand and goes after him with the axe. Once again, Cato pretends to give up, grabs PJ's gun, and blows him away, earning an extra 10 minutes and change, bringing his remaining time to 17 minutes and 22 seconds. Cato then turns and hacks his girlfriend Amber to death, giving him the highest remaining time. Ryan now has the least amount of time remaining, with 10 minutes and 28 seconds. Amber and PJ bring the death total to 6, with just 3 players remaining. Just as expected, Amber uses her injury to lure in unsuspecting prey. The worst part is, Aaron should know better, because Ryan and PJ told her they had been attacked by Amber before. If Aaron really wants to stay, she needs to circle Amber fully, checking for weapons, and then stay out of reach while assessing whether she's a threat or not. Aaron also should have the gun drawn and ready to fire if the need arises. PJ and Cato Part 2 is really just a tragic failure on PJ's part. Cato has already attacked and maimed him. He cannot be trusted or allowed to get within melee range. If PJ was trying to do a pacifist playthrough, he should have tried shooting Cato's vest. If the bullet can break the vest, that may be a way to save everyone. It might destroy the battery or wiring connecting the vest to its radio parts, rendering it harmless. If nothing happens, at least the kinetic energy transferred from the round would slow him down. If the vest explodes, well, technically you didn't kill him. Ryan makes it back to camp and searches Peterson's body. She finds the other remote hidden by his ankle and presses the button, turning everyone's vest red. Eren catches up to Ryan. They realize pressing the button gave everyone the lowest amount of time, 7 minutes and 34 seconds. Ryan and Eren encounter Kato, who reveals that PJ is dead. Ryan is devastated. She shames Kato, showing him PJ's engagement ring. It's nothing but a sentimental distraction, as Ryan plunges PJ's pocket knife hilt deep into Kato's shoulder. It cripples him and knocks the gun from his grasp. Ryan grabs the gun and they rush into the forest, while Kato removes the knife, grabs his axe, and chases after. I can't blame Ryan for pressing the button on the second detonator. Even if it was always likely to be a trap, it's too big a temptation not to try. At least she did it now, while there's still 7 minutes and change on the clock. What I can blame her for is aiming for Kato's shoulder instead of his throat or eyes, and not shooting him in the head when she had the chance. Getting away without killing anyone is a slim and distant option now that there's not enough time to find rescue or undo the vests. The kill here with Kato needs to be as quick and efficient as possible. The longer it takes, the more time there is to introduce an uncontrollable variable or give your enemy time to attack. Ryan turns the gun on Eren, reminding her that only one of them can survive. She interrogates Eren for information about her dad's death, but Eren swears she didn't kill him. Ryan reveals she was actually responsible for Caleb's death. She spiked Caleb's drink so that she could be valedictorian instead of him, only she got the dosing wrong. She apologizes to Eren and gives her the gun. Suddenly, Kato lunges out of hiding and plunges Cece's knife into Ryan's eye, so deep you could practically hear that knife scratching the inside of her skull. Ryan is dead in seconds, but Eren's the closest to her and collects her remaining time. Kato raises the axe to land the killing blow when she raises the gun. He taunts her, saying she'd never be brave enough to actually kill him. She tells him she doesn't have to kill him, and then shoots the legs out from under him. She breaks for cover behind a tree and waits out Kato's final moments. His timer reaches 0 and he explodes. Eren's vest shuts off completely and she runs off in search of the nearest bomb squad. And with that, the 76th Hunger Games are over. Kato really deserved that win, but screw him. He couldn't stop monologuing. His pride got the better of him and he lost to someone hiding behind a tree. Overall, Peterson's social experiment left 10 people dead, and Eren as the sole survivor. Mr. Peterson came into the game already wanting to take himself out. He gets an automatic survivor score of 0 out of 5. Bobby went out like the little traitor he was, but at least he tried to kill somebody. I give him a survivor score of 1 out of 5. Shae was in the wrong place at the wrong time. She was also too trusting and ill-equipped to deal with PJ's accidental right hook. I give her a survivor score of 0 out of 5. Cece had the advantage and could have potentially walked away the victor of the night if she kept her eye on the prize and didn't let herself get distracted by drama. I give her a 2 out of 5. Just like Peterson, Ryan's dad was basically dead when the game started, so he gets a 0 out of 5. Ezra was just too chivalrous a guy to survive, but he handled Ryan's dad and could have easily removed Kato from the game. He gets a survivor score of 3 out of 5. Amber's a complicated one. She should have died when Cece sliced and diced her back in the forest, and she should have known Kato was gonna murk her as soon as he could, but even badly wounded, she nearly KO'd Ryan and Eren. She's earned a survivor score of 3 out of 5. PJ gave away his advantage time and time again, and only accidentally killed anyone, so I'm sorry to say, but Drummer Boy gets a survivor score of 1 out of 5. Ryan could definitely have won this, but since she kept forgetting her best chance for survival was getting the vest off, Miss MIT gets a survivor score of 1 out of 5. Kato nearly took the whole game, but he learned the most valuable lesson of them all, lowering his survival score to 4 out of 5. As for Eren, well, she ran off at all the wrong times and tried to save all the wrong people. For surviving the game by the power of friendship alone, give her a survivor score of 1 out of 5. If the whole friend group had worked together and tried one of the 5 different methods I mentioned for removing the vests, Peterson and Bobby would have likely been the only vest victims. They might have even reached Ryan's dad in time to save him. Once this thing went battle royale, there were another dozen ways in which this smart pacifist or level-headed killer could have easily survived, simply by not monologuing and not trying to help someone who clearly wants to monologue before killing you. Ultimately, I think the time bombs from Triggered were beaten. How would you have beaten Triggered? Let me know in the comments. Hit the like button to save a stranger's life. Hit the subscribe button to save your own. Thanks for watching, and remember, the next time your so-called friends invite you to the woods for some post-traumatic bonding, just say no.